Well, good afternoon, First Baptist Mary Esther. Jonathan here on a Wednesday afternoon. A lot of rain today, rain throughout the week, and we need it. God gives us what we need in His perfect time, and so we're just going to let it fall down and just make everything green and everything grow like crazy, and our allergies are going to go nuts. I don't know if you've got that or not, but that's just part of the celebration I do with everything changing colors and being vibrant and being verdant and green. Is that I sneeze more and use more Kleenex. But in any case, it's a beautiful thing God gives us, what the world and what the earth needs, and we get to see that actually take place. I think this is the same way the message Sunday was on Romans chapter 6, and Romans 6 was just again a passage, a clear passage about the gospel and about how God has changed us from the inside out, and He's changed our very disposition. He's changed our capacity. He's changed our identity. He's changed everything that provides for the victory for us to actually follow Him and obey Him and not choose to offend Him with sinning that is been characterizing the life that we had before Jesus Christ. And so there's victory there. And I want to just center today just briefly on a passage, one verse. It's Romans 6, verse 17, and it's a verse of thankfulness. It's a verse of thankfulness that the Apostle Paul states toward the Romans, and I want you to hear what he says one more time, and there's a little twist in here that I think is significant for us to notice. He says, "But thank God that although you used to be slaves of sin, you obeyed from the heart that pattern of teaching to which you were handed over." Now, interesting verse, okay? He says, thanks to God, although you used to be slaves of sin, you obeyed from the heart the pattern of teaching to which you were handed over. Now, when you look at that and you listen to that, you're like, could that be like a scribal error? Or maybe there's something going on in the translation there. It's not. He says, you obeyed from the heart the pattern of teaching to which you were handed over. We might say, no, they obeyed from the heart the teaching that had been handed to them. Instead, he's saying, you obeyed from the heart that pattern of teaching to which you were handed over. What he's saying ultimately is that the teaching and the truth and the domain of God's truth was something you and I were placed into. In other words, your obedience to the pattern, he says, the pattern and the teaching and the instruction and the truth, we didn't get into the sphere of obedience and victory ourselves. We were placed into that sphere, which in fact, once in that sphere, we can now operate in obedience. So obedience didn't get us there. Obedience is a characterization of the life that actually exists in this new sphere, this new domain of what it means to be in Jesus Christ. And he just says, thanks be to God. You used to be slaves. You used to operate in a sphere, and out of that sphere, you operated as slaves. You chose to sin against God regularly. You chose to rebel. Your values and insights and things that you trusted in all came as a result of that particular slave role, that particular slave identity of sin. Sin dictated what it was and who you were going to be. Instead, you were moved out of that domain, and you were placed into the realm of truth. You were in a pattern of teaching. You were in a schema. You were in a way in which this is how God, it operates in God's kingdom, God's world, in the person of Jesus Christ. And so I want you to see that that's something God did for you and did for me. And he gives thanks to God for doing that for the Roman citizens. He's saying, God did this. He placed you in that sphere. And the evidence that you're in that sphere is that you are being obedient. In other words, you are being and doing consistent with what God has revealed as his will, his pattern, his character, his identity that is he wants to display through you and me. And so it's a sovereign step he's taken on our behalf, and it just is a precious, courageous, and faith securing truth that he's placed us there, and our obedience, in fact, characterizes that, in fact, we are in him. So That's where I am this week. I trust that that's where you are, or looking into Romans 6 on your own. I continue to pray over our church family. I continue to pray over all the questions and concerns that are just part of our church family and the conversation. I can say this to you with great confidence. God is in the midst of the questions. And really, the greatest questions, all the questions that we have, are meant to be directed first and primarily to Him and to Jesus Christ, who is Lord over His church. He's Lord over us. He's Lord over me. He's Lord over all of us as believers, that His will would be done. That's the greatest desire of any of our hearts, is ultimately that His will would be carried out fully in our lives. And I pray that for your life, and I pray that for mine and the life of all who worship and seek Him on this campus of 28 North Street. So I love you. I pray for you. I know that you're praying for me. I feel it. I sense it. I pray that you'll continue just to lift up Deb and I in these days, but lift up our deacons and our spiritual leadership and all of our ministry leaders and Sunrise City. Just bathe every aspect of ministry that's taking place on 28 North Street campus. Just say, God, just carry out your will fully and use me. God, carry out your will fully in my life too. So as we pray that together, we can be assured that God's will be done. I love you. Take care. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. It's Mother's Day. And so we'll have a message directed primarily just simply on the topic of what it is to be mothering and mothers. And we also have a baptism in a couple weeks. So again, if you've been thinking about, praying about, following the Lord, obeying the Lord in believers' baptism, talk to me about this, and we'll be happy to help you take that step. Take care. God bless.